cold. I should be glad that we're apart. When you're so reckless with my heart. For the wounds that you can't see. From the ashes where you left me. And when your tear is fully stacked, I know that you come crawling back.
Germany on a day that's marking a new chapter in LEC history. The old rivals G2 and Fnatic have represented EU in the last 4 World Championships. Tonight, one of these titans will fall as they battle to keep the 2021 season going. One way or the other, this series will lead to a brand new path for both teams. I'm Sjokz, and I am joined by Vedius and Guldborg on the analyst desk for this absolutely epic day. But I gotta say, man, that is so much harder than it looks.
It's actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
I mean, I'm in awe. You know, I've been your biggest fan for years, but this is really nuts. Thank you for doing that for the fans.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it.
I'm also a fan.
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you to our wonderful production team. We made that in a very short notice.
Yes. Regardless, I hope everyone enjoyed it and it helped getting us, even more hyped for today. But let's start, Guldborg, by what we saw yesterday. A statement win from the LEC champions, the Mad Lions. They're sailing up as favorites to defend their title. What a best of 5 that was. I mean, best of 3.
I mean, yeah, genuinely, Mad Lions really just proving themselves that they are this capable player of teams despite having that regular season. I think they were extremely scary in all games in 3 different ways, which was the most impressive thing. And the most impressive thing to me as well, their early game, all of a sudden they were just straight from the get-go ahead in the game.
It was Niski that sat there and said that he thought that this team had the best mid-game in the league. And it was something that I hadn't really thought about, but I think yesterday was a perfect example of why that is the case. Regardless of what position they're in, whether they be ahead or behind, they find a way to be proactive on the map, and they're able to stay consistent and be able to go even regardless of their position.
Yeah, Mac also had a lot of insights there where he thought that they just knew what to do in the situations. If they are behind, if they are ahead, if they are equal, they have clarity in those moments, which also brings them to good team fights, because when the engage is good, usually the team fight is also pretty good as well. I think we need to commend especially the player of the series, Kaiser. Again, the man found all the flanks, the man found all of the engages, Vedi. It was nuts.
He really did stand out yesterday, and you talked about it. His engage setups were what gave Mad Lions so many fantastic team fights. He found Han Summer when he just shouldn't have been allowed to be, and he was so flawless in his execution.
It's also just the way they're playing around with the vision. Do you know how many times we see a support who tries to do what Kaiser does? They get spotted and then they get killed. It was the fact we saw this so many times from Kaiser that it just didn't make sense. He was just too good yesterday.
Just gonna let us enjoy the soundtrack. It worked so well. He just snuck up on them time and time again.
Master Sleuth.
Yes. Oh, this is actually beautiful. We get the pro view out of this.
So what's amazing here is he uses his head slash away, and then he sees Han Summer. It's Han Summer that he's able to get that engage off, and it sets up the fight beautifully. Just flawless execution, and he's making, for when he first joined the league last year, expectations were high. He already made his way into the top 3 support list, and right now he is fighting to earn that title of best support in EU, and he already did a great job at MSI. He's going to represent us well at Worlds.
It's going to be great. Let's talk a little bit about Worlds. I know that I went from reading on social media last week that EU was totally doomed to now all of a sudden we're going to win because Matt is so good. So I'm relying on my analysts to give me a rational opinion on how Matt could do. at Worlds?
Well, personally, I'm optimistic, mainly because I like what we're seeing from this team. They are extremely confident in terms of their early game. We know that they have huge champion diversity. I think there are some question marks around that top lane pool still, but I think that what Mad Lions have shown is that they are prepared and ready for any situation, and they will fight to the bitter end. And that mentality at an international event is exactly what you need.
I agree with all these sentiments, really, from Vedi as well. And to me, it's also just the fact that when I take a look at our whole league holistically, Mad Lions just does play the best League of Legends right now. Is it to the point where I feel like the top 4 comments is going to come through with Mats in semis? I think time will tell, really. But what we can say is that we should be very optimistic about this team.
We'll see, of course, time will tell. We also need to spare a minute for Rogue then. Rogue, of course, not out of the playoff race. They're now going to play the winner of G2 or Fnatic. Guldborg, you said a couple of weeks ago, if I have to pick a representative at Worlds for EU, I'm going to put my money behind Rogue because I think that they can match the LPL aggression. What do you think now?
I mean, I think that Matt just proved me wrong with what they did, because clearly you can't match that early game aggression, and when you're not matching it, then you're just falling behind the mid game where, you know, quite frankly, they were running around like a bit of headless chickens towards that mid game. And when that happened, I kind of lost my faith in Matt, not in Matt, but in Rogue as well. So I'm actually taking that statement back.
It definitely feels like Rogue are not the same selves that we saw during the regular season. Dominant, pushing early game leads into controlled, clean execution to actually close out the game. They struggled against Misfits. They were dominated by the Mad Lions. The only hope now is that they use this time to prepare for next week, where they go up against one of the eventual winners of today in G2 and Fnatic.
Absolutely, they're going to need it. But of course, they can come back from this. Now, across the globe, new teams are starting to lock in their spots at Worlds 2021. Here's Laure for an international check-in.
Thank you, Sjokz. We have a fierce battle in the LEC tonight, but with the Worlds just around the corner, teams all over the world are trying as much as they can to make it to China this year. First, this segment is a massive spoiler, so if you want to rewatch all the action from the LCS, LCK and LPL, turn off the stream for 3 minutes and we'll see you right after this. But right now, Team Liquid have already qualified for Worlds, and after spending just 1 year in the LCS, Alfari is back on the world stage. The former Misfits top laner was instrumental in their win versus 100 Thieves yesterday, and Team Liquid secured the spot in the LCL Summer Finals. 100 Thieves will also lock the spot at Worlds, which means that we will finally see FLICKR on the international stage. Congrats to both teams, and we're always happy to see that our former EU players are doing well over there. Perkz and Cloud9 can still make it to Worlds and face off against Power of Evil's TSM later tonight in an epic battle for NA's last spot. Now, let's move to the LCK, where Genji managed to grab their first world ticket yesterday. However, our eyes on the current world champion Damwon Kia, who will be there to defend their title. Despite some issues earlier in the roster with some swaps, they have bounced back in the LCK playoffs, and no matter what, Damwon will be a force to reckon with at Worlds 2021. And the most important news from the LCK this week and this morning, the unkillable Demon King is back. FLICKR and T1 will return to Worlds 2021 and take on Damwon in the LCK Summer Finals next Saturday. It was a dramatic series versus Genji earlier today, but thanks to some great late-game shot callings and play from the bot lane of Teddy and Keria, the LCK Titans are looking to reclaim the title. Question is, can they also return to their dominance on the international stage? Now, when it comes to the LPL, everything is still left to be decided, but one thing is sure, we will not see team from last Worlds returning. For now, no teams have qualified yet, but we will soon know if Super Kawhi DoinB will return to Worlds and fight for a second title, as FPX have made an impressive run in the playoffs so far. If they win next series versus Team WE, we could see a battle and reunion between FPX Nogori and his old team Dawon for a second title, which would be one of the most hyped matchup at Worlds for sure, as the LCK and the LPL looks to be the favorites once again, and I'm very sorry about that, EU fans. But for now, we have some important business in the LEC, as one of our 2 most successful EU teams will definitely miss out on Worlds this year. And Sjokz, back to you.
Thank you very much, Laure. Fantastic checkup there, because there's so much to keep track of. And right now, today, we're focusing in on our last Worlds spot as we continue the historic rivalry between G2 and Fnatic, now with a brand new twist. Before we get to the matchup, we're going to test the experts on their knowledge in a G2 versus Fnatic quiz. Now, everyone at home can also join at discord.lec.gg. You guys ready?
And we should say, we have not seen these questions ever before.
No.
So,
exactly.
Let's do it.
Here's question 1. Except Reckless, who has played the most G2 versus Fnatic games? Caps, Jankos, Perks, or Broxa?
Well, I'm
They
gonna...
put Broxa in there, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Wait. With Caps, does it count when he was on Fnatic and then versus G2?
Ooh.
Yes, Fnatic
It
G2
must.
games.
Caps.
But
Wait.
Caps joined in 2017. And then maybe 2016.
Wait,
games.
I need to pause. Kevin, he just brought up, is it also, it's Caps both on Fnatic and G2, right? In Caps in Fnatic G2 games?
I mean,
Yes.
I'm going to say Jankos anyway. I'm saying Jankos.
It's Perks.
Damn it.
Perks at 61 games, Reckless at 63. So Perks is the correct answer. 0 and 0. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Question 2. Of the KDA Kings, Reckless and Upset, who has the best KDA in summer so far?
Upset.
Upset.
Correct.
That was a hard one.
Discord also got that correct. Production, just so you know, I do have the answers. So, question 3. How many international knockout stages have these two teams made combined? MSI and Worlds.
Oh, come on.
Fnatic and G2. 10,
Oh, math, why?
12, 14, or 16?
Oh, my word. Okay. Quick. Semi-finals, quarterfinals, quarterfinals.
Ooh, you're just flexing now. I like it.
I'm saying 12.
I'm gonna copy the homework and add 2, so 14.
14 is correct.
Yeah!
Discord is also correct.
What? How?
Because they're Googling. Of the top laners that have played for Fnatic and G2, only one has gotten a pentakill in the LEC, so not internationally, in the LEC. Was it Expect, Gamsu, Bwipo, or Wonder? Don't look at the teleprompter, for some reason something is bolded.
Wait, what was the players again?
Expect, Gamsu, Bwipo, or Wonder?
And
Pentakill.
who got a pentakill?
Who had a pentakill in the
versus
LEC?
G2s? I don't remember any of those.
Discord got it wrong, so Guldborg, you could win here, I think. You could clutch it.
I'm saying Expect.
I'm just gonna go with what people won't expect and say Gamsu.
It's Expect.
Damn it!
When did Expect?
Yeah.
When did we get a penta?
In 2017.
Is that just a guess?
I'm not sure. What's the score?
It's tied, isn't it? And Discord beat us both, I think.
All right, I have, okay, name all the top laners that have had a pentakill in the LEC. You and Discord.
Start with Vedius.
No, he's out. You and Discord.
Oh, no. Oh. I'm just gonna lose.
I know.
Huni?
You literally just heard that Expect coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, no. No, not like this.
Yeah, you can figure
Not
it
like
out.
this.
I'm gonna award the victory to the fans. Here we go.
They deserve it. They deserve it.
Let's get into the matchup now of our final series of round 2. It's time for G2 and Fnatic to battle it out for our last seat at Worlds. So it's time to get very, very serious because this is such a big matchup. And over the past years, Fnatic and G2, they have been staples on the international stage. And tonight, one of them will fall, which will mark an end to 4 years of Fnatic and G2 representing Europe at Worlds. There are so many great moments to look at, I think, Fedi. If we start with G2, it started in heartbreak, really, for a few of those
It
tournaments.
certainly did. It wasn't until MSI 2017 that we really got to see what G2 could do internationally. That was considered Perk's best international performance until, of course, Worlds 2018, where he went with a roster with such low expectations behind them, taking down RNG, going up against IG in the semi-finals, and then only continuing their success with the evolution of the roster into 2019.
I think it's also the perspective of it in general, as Vedius say, because back then G2 vacation was a meme. Like EU as a region in general wasn't really put on the landmark in international success. It was years to come later that would happen.
And Fnatic, on the other hand, I think about a lot of great moments, right? They rarely ever get stuck in groups, but they always make it dramatic.
They certainly do. So many insane Fnatic moments. 2016, the base race. 2015, both them and Origin making it to the semi-finals. 2017, Fnatic getting out of that group that they should not have gotten out of. The Week 2 Fnatic, famous internationally and something that many international teams have come to respect. It is an organization that has earned many much respect and history over the degree of the worlds that we've had.
I think that's also what's so crazy about this. Once again, it's that both teams here today is not only teams that has qualified already to the World Championship, but it's former world finalists that we're actually seeing here, and only one can go today, which is just why it's so mind-boggling between the two organizations.
And we have to highlight this one particular storyline, which to me tells so much of the story of what's also between these two organizations. Reckless, always looking for that LEC title, always looking for international success, making the gambit this year and jumping over to G2, now being on the brink of being knocked out by his ex-team, and Upset maybe finally making it to Worlds.
That's the craziest thing, right? Upset for the longest time was considered the person that was meant to overtake Reckless, the guy that was supposed to surpass him, and he's never been able to beat him in a best of 5. And now Reckless joins G2, the rival organization, the team that's supposed to finally get him to the trophy, the world's title trophy that he has craved for so long. And this year, all he has done is struggle. It is going to be insane to see who actually comes out on top. Will it be Reckless, Upset, G2, Fnatic?
Yeah, all the things that Vedius just mentioned, and also just due to the fact of the recent success that we've had this season, like it is a rivalry with Upset, never really haven't beaten, but despite that, in a best of 5 obviously that is, but despite that, it seems like Upset down in this bot lane has had the better season this time around.
And he's been playing fantastically, I think, throughout the playoffs also, and I think when you look across the board to our Fnatic, it's also insane. You know, Adam in his rookie year, Whippo, who now is playing in the jungle, who got to that world final when he was a sub in the top lane, but got to play in those games. Then the fact that Niski really wants to prove himself again on European soil at Worlds as well, and the bot lane of Hilly and Upset wanting to prove that they are the best bot lane in EU.
It has been a hard-fought playoffs for Fnatic. At the end of the regular season, the expectations were that they would finish top 4, that they would be one of the primary contenders to secure themselves a world spot. But after struggling during the final weeks, they've had to fight their way through Vitality, through Misfits, and now through the Titan that is G2 Esports. Going the full 5 games in every single series, Fnatic have fought tooth and nail to get to this point.
It's nuts. It's really, really crazy. We also have some insight from G2 because their strategic coach, Nelson, he joined the team a couple of months ago, so let's get some more insight from him today, before today's series, rather.
And thank you, Sjokz, and thank you also, Nelson, for joining me ahead of your game. Big day today for G2 and Fnatic, but I want to roll back and talk about the work you've been doing with the team since you joined. Tell me more about your role and what kind of improvements do you see with G2?
I think, at least for me, I've arrived in Berlin during the second half of the split. And I think my role in the team is to basically let them understand what they are trying to do or what they want to do in game. More on like the macro side of the game and like trying to softly influence the champions we play and the style we play. And I think there has been improvements for sure, but we faced many difficulties on the way as well, right? Because at least for us or for me, we know, or I know like what the meta is, but we chose not to play towards the meta. But I think in the last weeks, we worked more on playing towards, you know, how the game should be played, and I hope it will show today.
What is difficult about breaking players' habits and making them understand that, yes, the way that you guys play is fine, but if you tried something different, maybe it would be better for the team? How do you manage to do that?
Yeah, I think it's not easy, right? Because, I mean, for sure, for some teams it's different, but at least for the team in G2, we have like so many veterans. Some of them have played for 10 years, and there are like many bad habits which are very hard to change. Like if I have to give you an example, it's like, yeah, so why does the AD carry have to stay in mid lane in the mid game, you know? Yeah. Because it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, it doesn't always make sense to have like your AD carry to stay in mid lane when he might not be able to help the side lanes out if there's a fight breaking out. But if the AD carries on the side lanes, there's a fight breaking out, your 2 solo laners can teleport to help him, you know? So I think it's like small stuff like that is where we are still working on. I hope it can show today.
Yeah, micro adjustments, but as you said, it's veterans. So also I think that experience today is going to be a very important factor when it comes to G2. Talking about the matchup specifically, Fnatic, G2, we know the story, we know what it means, but it's do or die for both teams. And the fact that you ended up both in the loser brackets means that there's some improvements that we will be looking for today. What should we be looking at when it comes to G2 and Fnatic today? What will be the focal points, you think?
I think the team who is more patient is going to win for sure. I think, at least for us, I'm not sure like what the public or the rest or the other teams think about us, but I think we, like throughout the split or most of the split, we are a very patient team, probably the best like late game or scaling team, of course. And I think we are good. We are like a good matchup against Fnatic because I think like they only have like one mode or one button where they can only run forward. They never run backwards, and I don't think that's how the game should be played right now.
All right. Well, Nelson, thank you so much for these insights. I'll be looking forward to seeing all this on the Rift today. Good luck against Fnatic. And Sjokz, back to you.
Thank you so much, Laure. We are on stage for the occasion. There's a lot to unpack from that interview. We don't have that much time, Vedi, so I'm going to give you the chance to kind of react maybe to some of the things you've heard.
Well, it was interesting to hear him talking about how he wants to fix some of the bad habits from some of the veteran players. Sometimes when you play for a certain amount of time, you get stuck in a certain amount of ways and certain approaches to the game, and it seems that Nelson has done a lot to try and shift that perspective, and hopefully it will result in a different style of G2 that we might see today.
He also talked about, you know, being more patient in the regular season and playing out the team fights, and I think I want to focus on kind of the drafts that G2 has chosen of recent in the playoffs. It was a lot centered around bot side versus Mad Treats. What did you make of their approach?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of consistency in the G2 drafts in the series against Mad Lions. They had a lot of Tristana and they played a lot around bot side, with Wunderu being more of the weak side player. So I think that was interesting to see.
I think it's also in general the fact that, you know, when they finally then played topside, it still didn't really work out for them. You can quite clearly see in these drafts that they've had that they want to play around this bot side that Treats are mentioning, and they are kind of sacking the top lane a little bit in that aspect.
Of course, my counter would be that first game we saw of G2 versus Mad was one of the best games they've played all year, right? So why does that not work?
Well, I think that Mad adapted, and I think that's what we've come to realize is super important in these best of fives. Being willing and able to play both your bot side and your top side is incredibly important, and it's something that Fnatic has actually already shown us. When we have a look at their drafts, initially they primarily focused on playing through the bot side of the map. The Xayah Rakans being big picks for them, but when they brought out the Cho'Gath, they're actually a lot more invested towards playing towards the top side, trying to shut down Hirit in the top lane and actually denying Misfits a style that they were so comfortable with.
And that was the same thing for me, because I got nostalgic there. I finally saw the Adam that I saw at the European Masters that got the resources up towards the top side of the map, and that was my question at that day as well. Can Fnatic actually play through top side? And I think they showed that adaptability there.
Do you think, Treats, that that's going to be the biggest factor here, the fact that we have not seen the same versatility from G2 that we have from Fnatic in playoffs?
Yeah, I think so far the name of the game in playoffs has been adaptability, both for Mad Lions showing that they can play early game style, and then Fnatic showing that they can play top side. I don't know if you guys can hear Jankos. Probably can.
Yeah.
He's very excited.
When they told us we'd be on stage, we thought there's one thing you need to think about. It's that guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, but adaptability has been the name of the game, and I think today is not going to be any different.
All right, we'll see what happens. I also like to pull up the Bwipo kill map, which we also pulled up before the Fnatic series. And this was what it looked like before they played Misfits. Vedi.
It certainly did. In their series versus Vitality, they were very bot-centric. And the reason why we wanted to highlight this is because when you look at their series versus Misfits, notice how Bwipo's focus suddenly changes. There's a lot more investment towards the top side of the map. Yeah, they're still looking to dive in the bot lane. They still do make some plays down that side. But the fact that Bwipo's focus, and early game focus in particular, really did shift throughout the series is very positive for the side of Fnatic, because it shows their adaptability and flexibility.
And then this is also why they are so scary in a best-of-5 scenario, because they can do this on the fly as well. We saw it against the Vitality team as well. They realized Selfmade in leader plays a very mid-lane-centric style, and all of a sudden Bwipo shifted his pressure from the bot side into the mid side and completely shut it down. So definitely something to look forward to today, that adaptability.
Oh, absolutely. There's just so much between these two organizations. I know that the memes and the salt are flowing either way, but it's incredibly serious business. It is for that last spot at Worlds. There were quotes flying from all around the world, from Khan, for instance, about G2. I think there was also a quote today from Hillesang about G2 and about kind of the clutch factor, if that is still there for them or not. How much do you read into these things?
Well, I think that the expectations around the world are that this G2 roster should be good, and I think that we've seen that they definitely can be good. But depending on who you speak to, will tell you very different things around what the level of performance this team is. They are a different G2. With the addition of Reckless, they are behaving and playing differently. The question is that difference enough to get them back to the World Championship?
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. I think it's just, you can't really rule out G2 at any point, I think. They just have stacked names, they have a stacked roster still, and I mean, it just takes one pop-off performance, right, for them to make this series happen. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see.
Let's talk about some possible pop-off performances and look at some lanes. I want to pull up the champions pools for both Wunder and Adam, and there it will be very apparent that obviously there is a difference in approach. Guldborg, what is the key here for either top laner to win the game?
I think, for example, if you start with Adam champion pool, once again, I hate we overuse it, but adaptability again through the top side. Even the Renekton matchup is something that Adam can play as a weak sider and then still have some pop-up performances in the team fight scenarios. They only share the Mundo, so these two players are just very different in their champion pool.
And I think that the reason why we bring this up as well is because we want to focus on Wunder. The reality is he is known as a big carry topside player. We know that he can play these carry champions, but we need to see G2 invest in him. We need to see that same level of adaptability by trusting him and putting resources in him, because that is one of the best ways that they can find to actually match G2, Fnatic rather, in their style.
Treats, what does your gut tell you? Is there more left in the tank? Has G2 just not shown it yet, now that they've come through the lower bracket?
I mean, I still have some G2 copium in me for sure.
Okay.
I think they still have something in the tank for sure. It's really hard to rule them out, honestly.
For sure. I also want to look at who, for me, have been some of the best performers on the Rift in these playoffs so far. Nisqy versus Caps, the mid laners. I mean, Caps has been phenomenal, I think, ever since the second half of the summer started. And I think Nisqy gave one of his best performances I've ever seen in the last round. So, Guldborg, what do we look at here in terms of the mid lane match?
That's the thing. I did not expect that big of a mid gap going into the Fnatic Misfits series, but Nisqy really popped off. And having seen a Twisted Fate solo killer LeBlanc in a side lane, I never saw anything like that before, just saying. So I think Nisqy definitely had a pop-up performance in his series where the mid lane priority and using that priority to influence the rest of the map is going to be key today.
I think it's really interesting as well, because when we talk about champion pools, they do have quite different champion pools. We've been seeing a lot of Silas from Nisqy, and I wonder how he's going to use that in this series against Caps, because we know that Caps typically is a very flexible player, and as you can see, he's a hyper-aggressive one. We've been seeing him try and go for 1v1 solo kills multiple times in the second half and in playoffs, and we know that he is hungry and ready to go back to the World Championship.
Absolutely, and I want to touch on the bot lane just one more time, Treats, because as said, we've gotten the hype around the bot lane from Fnatic being they are the best bot lane, Hylissang and Upset. But of course, Reckless and Mickey are no slouches. Phenomenal bot lane itself. Where do you think this is going to go? First off, do you think that G2 is again going to go all in on that bot lane in the draft?
I think with the preparation time that G2 had, they will have something else than just going bot. I think they're also going to use their top lane resources to have an advantage in this series. So I think we might see some more adaptability, but maybe for the game 1 and game 2, there will be a bit more bot focus than the rest of the series.
Okay, we've ran through a lot in terms of the game, but there's a lot that is unquantifiable in this matchup, I think. The history, the weight on their shoulders, that pressure on the players, the newer and the older players, about making worlds. It is your most important goal when it comes to the year, and definitely at this point in time when there's only one spot left.
Yeah, for these players and these organizations, Worlds is what matters so much to both of them. They both have multiple LEC titles, and of course, they want to win the split. They want to prove that they are the best, but proving that they can compete with the best internationally is what really matters to so many of these veteran players on both sides.
Oh, fantastic. Well, without further ado, it's time for predictions. Let's see. Vedius, you can go first.
I'm going to start with the G2 3-2. I think that it's going all the way. I think that it's going to be a 4-5 games. And it seems the G2 is quite excited about my first prediction.
Right. Treats?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with Vedi on this one. G2 3-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to explain, or do you just want to have
No,
a yell?
I mean, they're just, I think it's the 3-2, yeah.
All right. Guldborg, what are you going to say, man?
I mean, if you've been good before, you can be good again. So I'm actually giving it a bit more confidence this time around. So I'm going to say 3-1 instead of the 3-2.
The copium. The copium. Wow.
Jankos is happy with that.
And let's see what Discord said. Discord said G2 3-2. That's, hey, you know, I'm just going to say it. That looks like a jinx. That's all I'm gonna say. No, of course, fantastic chances for both teams. G2 and Fnatic, they want to make it to Worlds. Everything is on the line for Fnatic and G2 this series. So without further ado, let's get to the action.